of that song that I just love that says prayer for me. When it says in there, I knew it when it was coming. It was wrong.
Right.
And that's the thing. It was like he knew it. And 99.9% of the time when we are in the midst, we have, and I know people say, let's not talk about the Holy Spirit, but it's the Holy Spirit unctioning us when we talk about our conscience. That's the Holy Spirit that lives within you. All you got to do is tap in and say, I believe and I accept this as my guidance. But he said, I knew it when it was coming, it was wrong. I knew it was going to destroy my relationship. But then when it got to happen, he said, I need your prayer. And he said, because what will happen? I'll be an angel. I'll be an angel if you just let me do it again. And that's the thing. A lot of times we do not allow people to have that second chance to do that do-over. Because really, they did learn from their mistake. And I mean, it's for some people, yes, it's a sickness and they need some help and they need a little bit more than just say, I forgive you and go through a process. But we all need prayer. And that's what I really want you all to get from that Anthony Hamilton song. And previous to that, it was about humbling ourselves. So let's find that place where we can be humble. So I'm going to jump to our guests because they have a real testimony about fighting for their relationship. Because I hear a lot of people, the first thing that they do, even the person who wrong want to get mad, pack their stuff and act like they done been wrong. The thing that we need to learn is no matter what happens in a relationship, both people got their cross to bear.
Right.
Both people got their cross to bear, and that's what we need to be accepting, not judging. And that's what I don't want my audience to do. If you're listening, if you're Facebook Live, however you have joined me, this is not a judgment session. This is a learning, educating, empowering session, so you can take it back for either your relationship or to share with somebody else in their relationship to empower them to understand that everybody is going to have a struggle with some type of temptation. And tonight's temptation just happens to be the flesh. So we're going to talk about, because let's do a little image with our little book so everybody can see. Yeah, we got here a blessed affair. And we got accountability. Accountability hasn't disappeared from healthy relationships. I don't want to agree on that word that we have lost accountability. I want to say that sometimes accountability is not on both sides. It's what occurs. And I'll get to a better conversation because I can get onto a soapbox about accountability. So let's talk about this book, A Blessed Affair. And I really want to hear the backstory of what made you put your laundry in a book. And not your clean laundry, because most times that's what people put in a book. They put their clean laundry in a book.
Right.
What made you put it in a book? What was your story? And then what were your emotions that you were going through? And then after it actually got published and put out, what was that second set of emotions that you had to go through? So let's share with the audience and what we go through in that process.
Okay. And that's good. And I'll just go first because the good thing about it is my wife and I, Woodrina, we both came from different perspectives.
Okay.
So for me, writing the book, God had spoke to me. And he literally said, I want you to take your journey, your journal that you're writing, and I want you to, as you do this journey, and I want you to name it A Blessed Affair. And see, for me, being a minister, basically months prior to my wife's affair, which we didn't even talk about mine, God literally said to me, I was preparing a message, like a Sunday morning message. And the message was a blessed affair. At that time the message was, be careful what you curse. Your curse could be your blessing. Right. So I had my scriptures. I had everything done. So I'm really looking forward to actually ministering this word. Just like any minister, first of all, when you hear the word, it blesses you.
Amen.
So months later, when the affair actually happened, God said to me, do you remember the word I gave you back in March?
Yep.
And which I still have written down today. Be careful what you curse. Your curse could be your blessing. God said that message was prophetic for you. That's your message. And I want you to take that message, a blessed affair, and I want you to cause healing to others because I want them to understand my heart for grace, my heart for forgiveness. And as you and Woodrina come through this journey, I want you all to be ministers of reconciliation.
Wow,
so for
that.
me, that was no shame. My wife will tell you, Woodrina will tell you. For me, I'm walking around like, yeah, I messed up. Yeah, I did it. Because of the fact that it didn't matter to me what nobody said.
Right.
Because
God
I heard God's voice.
Right.
So it didn't matter to me if you want to judge me, you want to judge my wife, you want to criticize, you could do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I heard his voice.
Amen.
And so for me, it was easy. So that's why I say for me, I was like, man, let me tell you about this. And Woodrina was like, so now she can tell you.
Do this.
Right.
So for me, it was different because I dealt with feelings of, I felt ashamed. I was embarrassed. So that's how I was in the beginning. But I realized the reason why I was going through that was because I hadn't accepted God's forgiveness.
Yeah.
So once I was able to accept his forgiveness and really realize he's forgiven me, he's actually shown his grace. He used my husband to help bring me back to him, because that's like the basis we talk about in the book. It's like my foundation with Christ was like shattered. And I was really going through a lot. So for me, I wanted to just walk away from God, because walking away from God would have been walking away from Martez. If I walked away from Martez, I felt like I'm walking away from God. So basically, God used Martez and the love that he showed me to bring me back to God. So that was my foundation. So really, once I came back to God, that's when I was able to finally receive his forgiveness and accept his grace. And then all of a sudden, okay, I didn't care anymore. I wasn't dealing with the shame and the embarrassment. But prior to then, yes, I felt ashamed. I was embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh, I do not want to do this. Why do we have to share this? I felt like the poster child of infidelity. I did not want to share this. So, it was a process for me.
But let me say this too, Cortne, also, which we talk about in the book, because when we were stationed overseas, I actually, when I had my affair, I had to hide it for 13 years.
Ooh.
Now, remember, at this time, my wife had just had my son, our second child, and, we was young, strong Christians. I'm over men's ministry. We strong. I grew up Pentecostal, that old school apostolic. So I'm like, I'm
deep,
gone.
really
I'm
into the
deep.
faith.
I'm good. But see, that was one of the lessons God had to teach me, because I really felt like I had on a cape, because I really felt like a saved, like I was super saved.
Yeah, you could not
fall.
sin.
Right.
I can't fall. And I was the main person judging other people when I went overseas. I'm like, man, ain't he married? Why he doing? You see what I'm saying? But I'm like, that would never be me. So God had to do some things. Now, at that point, when I was back in 94 rather, that's when I felt shame. That's when I felt guilt. Because of the fact, and at that time, being a young minister, I couldn't tell my pastor, because back in 94, you couldn't tell nobody you to cheat on your wife. You couldn't tell nobody. I couldn't tell my pastor. I couldn't tell no overseer, no bishop. I couldn't tell my mama. I couldn't tell my grandmother. I couldn't tell my brother. I couldn't tell nobody. And also because friends and everybody, because I had given my life to Christ at 19 years old and really started being really active in it, I couldn't tell anybody.
Because they were going to judge your Christ.
Man. So I had to really go down on my knees. I went on a 21-day fast, that bread and water while I'm still in the military. I'm like, God, don't let me lose my family. I grew up as in a single parent home. So the most damaging thing for me was not being with my children. So of course, if I would have told Woodrina back in 1994 what I did, she was on the next plane out of Panama headed back to Virginia. And so for me, that would have been terrorizing. I couldn't do that. So I had to hide for 13 years, not say anything because of the fact of that loss. But what God showed me in that hiding, he showed me his grace. Oh, man. And so in showing me that grace, because we even talk about this on how God actually took us to some of the best, happiest times in our marriage during the time while I was hiding. But see, that was a lesson. See, that was a lesson for me, because what God wanted me to know 13 years moving forward is, which he literally said to me is, the same grace I showed you
You got to show
back in 1994, I need you to show her. That was something.
Yeah, yeah. It was, both of you all said something that was really fabulous. I love the grace component. I'm going to come back to that. But I love what you said about if you walked away from Martez, it would have been like walking away from God. And a lot of times in a relationship, we don't really realize how the forgiveness of our spouse is so connected to the forgiveness of God. And we shatter a person's relationship, whether you're the spouse, but if you're outside judging, doing these judgment calls, a lot of times you make people lose their ability to see that God can forgive. Because the thing is, I'm here touching you, feeling you, having communication with you. Right. So that's what you hear. Even though you know God can forgive you, but it's hard because somebody else is constantly bombarding you to make you shame. Right. And the thing is, we spend too much time judging other people because we don't want them to see that our dirt. So if I make you feel bad about your dirt, then nobody might not look at my dirt. Right. Okay, my dirt might not be my flesh. My dirt might be I eat too much. My dirt might be I work too much. My dirt might be I gamble too much. My dirt might be I'm on drugs. Those not my problems, y'all, but I'm just telling you, I might, so for y'all get I got my own dirt, and we all got dirt, so that's the thing. And so I want people who are listening to understand that they need to get beyond the shame. They need to get beyond the judgment. Take off all those masks. And I did a message one time about how we walk around faking it till we make it. And we hurt ourselves because we never get real. We stay fake all our lives. And see, at that point, you became fake with yourself. You became fake with God. And you became fake with Martez. And so that your whole relationship revolved around a fakeness. And then you could never get to the real depth and the real blessing of your relationship. And now when I heard that, I was like, okay, that is where God really uses relationships to really keep that connection. And we forget that component, that the man is our head. And the man is not our God, but he is the head as far as the bishop, the minister in our house to lead us to God. And when he falls out of that place, we do lose that disconnect with God. And women need to understand, we really need to allow men to have that position, because if we don't, we really don't even care how they feel about things, because we just dismiss it like, oh, your opinion, your thoughts, you're not really real. But we do. We need that grace. We need that loving component. So for spouses out there who put themselves, like you say, when they judge their other spouse for doing something, even if you might not have done that same thing, you got a place where it is. And it was two things that you said: never. People love to say that word. I won't never get caught up in doing that. I will never be the person that cheat. I will never hurt anybody. I will never. Okay, God makes you eat those words every time. Because in the Christian walk, when you become so judgmental of other people, you will be judged with that same level of judgment. And that's what the word says. So be careful with what you judge, because you will become the judge of that same sin. And as a young person, I can understand that walk. Because I know I have my kids look at me different things and they be like, well, Mama, why do you do that? Why do you do that? Why would you give that away and blah, blah, whatever it is, but what you always want them to see you do good things. But when you do the bad, be able to explain it and say, God forgave me, you forgive me. But then when they turn around and do the same thing, don't act like they committed murder. And that's the thing that goes on. And I can understand how you felt like, if I don't hide it. But I love the fact that you said during those 13 years, God still blessed you. And that's why it was a blessed affair. That's why I love that title so much. During those 13 years, God still blessed. So y'all realize, because a lot of people, they get mad, they get angry, because they look back and say, oh, well, you lied to me for all of this time. I can't forgive you because it went on for so long. You know what I'm saying? Okay, but the thing is, if you can see the good that God still did out of it, that means imagine what he can do after that. That's what imagine what he can do after that. I mean, if you all are great and doing good things while the affair is going on, while everything is not perfect, imagine what can occur
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you get through those things, when
Right,
you
right.
dig down in the dirt and get those rotten roots out, how good a fruit that you can produce. Because like you said, y'all produce kids out of that. Y'all produce a great ministry out of that. But now look how God used you in a different way from your own words in a different way.
Yeah.
And I like what you said, as a reconciliation agent. Because we need those. We need those. Everybody is falling apart. It's easy to separate.
Yeah.
It's easy to say,
Yeah.
I'm
It's
through,
easy to
I'm
give
sick
up.
of this.
Yeah.
That was the last straw. So we do have to recognize that as the reconciliation. So now that you all got through the initial hurt, when the book got republished, did it turn around and pull Band-Aids off again?
No.
No.
No, by the time the book was published, yeah, we had healed, we had moved forward from it.
Okay.
Yeah, we had healed from the affair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And see, for
Yeah,
me,
'cause the
it
book
was
was like 5 years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so for me, it was like I say again, because of the fact I hid. So for me, when I was able to tell Woodrina,
He was like,
that
he
was a
free.
release. So
Yeah.
that's because now I can be truthful, and that what has been holding me for years, I can let it go. So for me, that was never a bad name. I mean, it's really. I mean, I can really even reading that book, I can say some things that'll really make people be like, yeah, because like when I say I literally could have sat down and had lunch with the guy my wife had an affair with. I mean, I mean that because I totally
You understood.
Oh man, I understand purpose.
Yeah,
See,
you understood. But I mean, you understood. I think people get so caught up in the fleshly component or even the emotional component that they lose their whole mind. And I'm going to say men more. Men do the whole losing the mind. I'm going to hurt him. I'm going to kill him.
I disagree because women now.
Yeah, I know, but
different day and time now.
Yeah, but
it's
I
a
mean,
different day and time.
Yeah, but the thing is, you'll hear about more women being accepted of. I know about the other woman. I
Right.
know about the
Oh,
outside
That is
child.
true.
I know about.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah, but now, how many times is that reversed when a man his woman gets pregnant and she brings in a baby
Oh,
from an
yeah,
outside
that's-
relationship?
that's-
That's the
yeah.
I
That's
don't.
a whole nother-
And it may happen, but you don't hear about
That
it.
is
Nobody
true.
talks about it.
Right.
That is true.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. That other component of what people don't talk about. It happens, but we don't talk about
Right.
it. We always put the judgment on the woman. You'll never hear no book about the scarlet letter on a man.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That is
You
true.
was like, you get a high five. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
But and that's why I say I can understand that walk. But I enjoy the fact that you all, by the time the book came out, and it's significant that 5 years.
That
Because
grace.
God gave you all that period
Oh,
where
yeah.
you all could heal for yourselves.
Right.
And that's what people need to realize. You need time.
Yeah.
A lot of people post too much of their business on social media while you're going through the process. You need the time and to heal before you try to make your life a testimony or a
Yeah.
story for someone
That's
else.
true.
You're not
Yeah.
there
Right.
because if you had been still bitter or still in that moment, it wouldn't have healed.
Right.
It would have just fueled other people to say, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
And not in the positive way.
Right.
So realize, people that are listening, it is a process. It is a timing, and it's never a coincidence. Because I know y'all like, it took 5 years to get 100 and something pages. It's not about printing the book. It is about having a component. And I think I see somebody agree with me, women are more emotional. Yeah, I agree women are more emotional, but we are not necessarily as violent. How about that? We are definitely more emotional. We want to know the details. We want to know who, when, where, what's her name, what was the hair color,
Right.
was she better, all the
That
juicy
is true.
details.
You
Yeah,
do,
now
you
we
do,
want
you do.
the juicy details. I'll
Right.
agree with that. But usually we are more accepting of the outside components as long as the drama doesn't continue on.
Right, right.
Yeah, as long as we can calm down the drama and get back, we are, I think, a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more open. It's just the nature of how we're built as women in that nurturing
Right.
component. And of course, that's not all women. Of course, it's
Right.
not all women. That's nothing is ever a blanket statement
Right,
about
right.
all women.
Right.
Nothing is ever a blanket statement about all men. But I think it's a good point that you make because we definitely, want to never say that women are definitely emotional.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
That's really amazing though, because I actually just did a week's teaching on managing the marital emotions and expectations in the marketplace. And one of the things we talk about is how in the scripture it acts as man is the head, but it also asks man to deal with his wife in a way of compassion and nurturing. So as leaders, we know every leader has to manage. And so from that perspective, I say, isn't it amazing that women are nurturers by nature? But then God says to the man, but I also want you to nurture and manage her emotions. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, but the key I love in that is what we don't do is a lot of times tapping in and understand those emotions. We like to push the buttons to like set off.
Right.
When you know that's gonna set me off,
Right.
instead of taking it the opposite way.
Right.
I always say now you can either use a positive or a negative. That's like a battery charge. A positive, that means we're gonna connect and everything is gonna be peaceful. You can negative charge mean I might not even crank up,
Right.
and that's gonna be a problem.
But see, and that's what I say to many men. One of the challenges that I believe that men deal with and that women just expect is because of the fact that men don't know this, because nobody teaches you this. Nobody teaches you how to understand the emotions of women. Most men haven't read a book on understanding the emotions of a woman. So because you don't understand, then how can you manage something that you don't know how it's supposed to operate? But in actuality, God asks us to lead and to nurture and manage that woman. But the problem we have is most men, we're not tapping into that knowledge of understanding emotions because we are the head.
Yeah,
So-
but we like that part. We the head. We like that.
Right. But in the head, like I like to tell men, if you're the head, then that's your eyes.
Yeah.
So the thing that we miss as men, we need to read.
Yeah.
Why? Because your eyes are the ones that get to read. And so the Bible says, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. It didn't say for a lack of praying. It didn't say for a lack of provision.
Right.
See, you can be providing for your wife.
Yes.
You can be loving your wife, but still really have no clue of what's going on.
Yeah.
How do I know that? That was me.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true.
That was me.
I love that you said that because that was the next question I was getting. What was the component that you know that set this emotion into action? And I like that because for the men, even women, because we can get to the point where we are solely minded, focused on not understanding or tapping in,
Yes.
that lack of communication,
Yes.
and it's reading books,
Oh, man.
but it's also reading what occurs in your household if you are observant and you pay attention.
Right.
But the thing is, if you don't pay attention
Right.
to the fact that you set something off, you just be like, okay, this woman got problems or this man got
Right,
problems,
right.
and I don't have time to deal with that drama. You know how we say, I ain't got time to deal with that
Right.
drama. I'm above that drama.
Right.
I'm too old for that drama.
Right.
Because
Right.
some people
Right.
get married later on in life, or some people say, I just don't put up with foolishness. Well, it's not foolishness if that's that person's ways,
Right.
and you've married them. You need to understand their ways so that you can nurture them to be in a positive way.
That's really
Right.
good.
And that's the thing. It's kind of like having I like the car analogy, but me and you can get into that. But it's kind of like having a car out of alignment,
Right.
and you get in the car and you don't realize it's out of alignment, and you keep trying to jerk it one way, and you wonder why you keep buying new tires.
Right.
Because you keep busting them because the alignment is messed up. And that's kind of like in your relationship. You keep having a busted relationship because you don't take time to align those emotions, those concerns, those issues.
Yeah.
And that in itself, it don't just cause fleshly affairs, it causes emotional affairs. It causes you to actually put more of your energy into your job. It sometimes causes you to put your children in a place they shouldn't be, because I know people who have created their children become their spouses, they best friend, they put them too high. So realize, I know we're talking about that fleshly component tonight, but I will tell you, if you take the time, and I think somebody said men will never understand women and vice versa. It's not about understanding, it's about being really tapped into your mate. I don't need to understand you. That's just like I don't need to understand God. But not understanding, but it's having knowledge of what goes on in your house.
Right.
I never will understand God's ways of what happened. I never understand my husband 100% full, and I would be a fool to say that.
Because see, marriage, and that's something that I had said the other day, and that's during that week. marriage is a lifelong institution.
Yes.
You are constantly learning. So like
yes.
when the lady said men will never understand women, well no, you will understand your spouse because that's someone you should be studying. So if you've been with someone for 30 years, it's almost like being in nursing school for 30 years. If you've been in nursing school for 30 years, you're going to really have a good idea of what's going on in that field. Well, if you've been married to a person and you have been studying, you have been learning, you have been educating yourself, you have been talking in these things. See, what we lack is nobody isn't giving us instructions. Nobody is teaching us. So we actually get married and actually go on autopilot. Like, no, if you ever cheat on me or if you ever do this, but then you went on autopilot. And so something we found out through our studies, and this was something that was really good for us, 93% of people, 93%, Cortne, of people who parents have an affair, they're going to have one.
Yeah.
That's 93%.
Because you see that as a stepping stone.
Right.
Because people do not realize children see that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So it's accepted, it's hidden, you learn those behaviors.
Well, God done gave me some revelation on that.
Yeah,
It
you
takes
learn,
that a whole
and that's why.
other level.
Yeah, well, we had last week about breaking generational curses
Yes, sir.
because it was
Yes,
something
sir.
that's really involved.
You
So
got
that
them doors.
that is it's some doors and some
Doors
curses
open.
that are open, and I love what you said about learning, because last month been back to school for. Literally school, but I did a back to school. I was just put out a word for people, lessons to learn. And we need to stay back in school all the time. We need to study. I mean, we always should be getting some type of degree, some type of continuous education credit.
Yes.
And like you say, okay, when I hit a wall and I don't understand something that you've done, I need to get in school to figure out what's going on.
Right.
And it might be something deep rooted that's going on. It might be a job change. It might be an emotional change. It might be a financial burden. Whatever it is, but then over time I can recognize when those little things that come along. You know, because I can see it in the way that your face does. And you know, I mean, I'm a face studier anyway. When people do little things, I can, you know, I'm real big on habits, and so I know when things have changed, kind of like when that season in your relationship has changed. And that's why you need to study. You need to know what season your relationship is in. If it's in harvest season, it's in plant season. If you need to be out there watering, if you need to be standing in the sun, if you need to be weeding, you know, it's different things if you really, like you say, you want your garden to grow. Because if not, you just go on autopilot and say, ooh, well, next fall, I'm going to go out there and get me some peaches. Well, you know, peaches don't come out in the fall.
That's so true. On October 15th, if I can throw this plug in right now.
Yeah, you go ahead.
On October 15th, we're actually doing a Navigating Through the Seasons of Marriage workshop.
Okay.
So exactly what you just said, because many couples don't know the seasons. You don't know what season you're in. You don't know what that season, what does the winter season look like? What does the spring season look like? What emotions does it carry? What actions, what attitudes? And so actually, that's something we're going to be doing on October 15th is actually educating.
And where now?
Oh, we're going to be doing it at the Square Church there in Smyrna.
Okay.
In Smyrna there. And so thank God for my friends, Pastor Phil and his wife Emily, for allowing us to come in and to do that workshop there. But yeah, because people don't understand seasons, and of course we didn't know. You know, I remember the first time Woodrina learned about that, it was like that was one of those things that really helped her to understand we were really in a season. And we just needed to see now how do we come out of this.
Yeah,
and
but
so
a lot of
again,
times we get stuck in a season,
Oh, man.
or I'll get stuck in a season and my spouse might be gone.
Yes.
He in spring.
Yes.
And he enjoying it. I'll be like, wait, hey, I ain't with you yet. So you gotta know if you all are in that season together. And that goes back to that understanding, knowing the components together. So I think when we say understanding, it's not about I know everything that makes you tick.
That would never
Because that's why I say it, because we're ever evolving, ever changing. And that will never happen. But I do want to know that it is some basic type of learning and studying that goes on. Because we invest in everything else to learn and study. We got to make sure we invest in our relationships. Because, I mean, whether an affair or not happens, the thing is, whether it's a blessed affair, and you make a choice how you accept whatever happens in your relationship, whether you call it a curse or whether you call it a blessing. And the thing is, I can honestly say, and I know people look at me and say, I can call everything that has ever happened in my life a blessing, even though it probably, some of it has probably made me feel like I was dying at the moment.
Right.
But it did need to kill something in me.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. There's purpose in everything.
Yeah, it did need to kill something in me. So
Right.
even when I look back and feel that hurt or that pain,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean that where you turn away from God, where you don't feel like you can get that relationship
Right.
back with God, I want people to walk away with educate yourselves about your mate. Don't spend so much time educating yourself about the world to minister to other people, and you can't minister in your house.
Right.
Because that is what gets lost a lot of times as ministers. We educate ourselves on the word. We become so deep in the word, and we become the word. But we lose focus on the household and the word that we need to speak life into our own homes.
Can I say this, Courtney?
Right.
And as you're educating yourself on your mate, one of the things that we talk about also is understanding your DNA blueprint, your relationship blueprint. In other words, this is what I would tell anybody. I tell my daughter, I tell my son, if you're going to be in love with someone, you want to know what's in the foe. Now, I know I say foe, I know I'm from Alabama, but pretty much you want to know what's in the four. In other words, know about that daddy. Know about that granddaddy. Know about that great-granddaddy. Know about that great-great. You want to know what is in the four. What is inside of your husband? Because there are things inside of your husband he didn't put there. There are things inside of your husband that was there from his granddaddy. He may not have never even met that granddaddy, but still there are things genetically and emotionally and psychologically inside of him that he had no idea of how this happened or anything. So see, as we're learning, and I'm going to just give y'all some word with it, because I love to add some word too. Have you ever wondered why the Bible always says he's the son of so-and-so, he's the son of so-and-so, he begot so-and-so, then this one begot that one? Why? Because you need to understand the lineage. You need to understand the line of a man, because of the fact it's just like with a dog nowadays. If you really want a good dog, you go to find out who's the stud. You want to know what is this pedigree of this dog. That's the same way we are as men. So there are a lot of things that's inside of us that we don't even know. There were things inside of me I didn't know. So how can I really love my wife, or how can my wife really know me when ain't nobody taught her how to study me? Ain't nobody educated her on understanding the psychological and emotional makeup of me as a man? So how can I really even love myself? So that's the thing about, as you are moving forward in your relationship, when you're studying your husband, do some research. That's what I tell people. You want to research this man. Find out about his dad. Find out about his mom. Just like people, when you go to the doctor, when they ask about high blood pressure, they don't just ask, do your husband got high blood pressure? They want to know, do your mom have, does anybody in your direct family got coma? Why? Because that's natural.
It's all connected.
And so I'm just telling you all, when you're also studying your husband, look at where he comes from. I'm not telling you you have to run when you find out what's inside of him, but you just want to be aware. So then that's when it takes the Spirit of God, the grace and mercy of God, for you to love one another, because literally you know what's inside of him. But guess what though? God loves us, and he definitely knows what's inside of us. That's real talk for you.
Yeah. And I like that, because
like that, Courtney?
I like that. You know I like that. Yeah, but it's warfare. It's a in our relationships we should always have prayer warfare going on.
Oh man, that's for real.
Because the thing
but
is,
who teaches us that, Courtney?
well, who teaches us is, if you don't learn it in your four walls, you need to find some people in a circle who are in a marriage mindset, who are trying to pour into you. And if you don't know, you can always dial in right here to 108 Praise, and we are definitely teaching you. So
because they don't know.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So if you don't know, always hit 108praiseup.com on the relationship, because we are always talking about empowering and the different aspects. Because if you don't seek out the knowledge, and people always say, well, it costs too much to go to conferences, it costs too much to go to retreats. There are plenty of free things that go on, but beware. Everything free. Don't show up to everything free, because you don't know the spirit that is there and free. So do the research of the people that you are allowing to pour into your relationship. And I'm not saying those people got to be perfect. So that's why I started off in the middle about don't judge Woodrina and Martez. They were nowhere did they ever say they were perfect. But they're perfect for each other, and they have worked through to make the puzzle and everything right.
Right.
So that's the thing. That's the key. And I don't want people to walk away because a lot of times people say, well, I've been married a whole bunch of years, so my relationship is good.
Go for it.
Well, no, it ain't. No, it ain't, because if you put your relationship out there and people actually had to do a magnifying glass on you and test everything that went on, nobody has a perfect relationship. I
Look,
don't even profess
even with
that.
this, we still don't have a perfect relationship.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's something that you should be perfecting every day,
Yeah,
going to training
exactly,
for. Just
exactly.
like your job or
Right.
most educations, they require you to go through some kind of credentialing to
Right.
keep.
Right.
You need some kind of credentialing to keep
Right.
your spouse to stay
Exactly.
connected.
Right. Any marriage that has not been tested has no value or no depth of love. That's what God told me.
Yeah, because I can love anybody who ain't never done
Man,
nothing.
you
to me.
Right.
don't know what
Exactly.
love is until it's been tested. And so, if you are a Christian believer, I know for a fact, marriage is what is the very nature of God. And if God sacrificed His own Son to show how much He loved us, trust me, your love will be tested. And if your love has not been tested,
It's coming.
you can tell me whatever you want to tell me, Cortne.
Yeah, but it's
I
coming.
know.
Yeah.
And I've actually heard somebody say a man is not a man until he has a woman. Because
Okay.
he has not been tested to
Right.
prove that he's really
That's
a man.
love.
You haven't been
Love.
tested to prove
Yeah.
that he's a man. You're a male. You came out as a male,
Right,
but you are
right,
not a
right.
man yet until you get a woman to
Right.
make you
Right.
become a man. And I know we have kind of, I love the fact when we can keep talking all the way through the songs.
Oh, Lord.
I know I'm
Yeah.
going to get ding
It's
ding
going.
for not no radio music playing. But it's two songs that we're going to close us out on in these last 5 minutes. And I mean, if you're on here on Facebook, shoot us your questions. But the last two songs that are coming on is Karen Clark Shear, and it's Second Chance. So that is perfect for closing us out.
Yeah.
Second chance, because we all need one. And if you act like you're perfect and you don't need a second chance, well then you just go ahead and walk away. But then you also have Kevin LeVar, Hiding Place. Oh, you know, I already told y'all Kevin LeVar was like my heart of lyrics. But Hiding Place, and I go back to say, do not live your relationship out on other people's terms.
Right.
When you're going through something, find that hiding place in
Yes.
God so that He can cover you, so He can nurture you, so He can build your relationship
Yes.
back up. Because that is when you can write a book, you can sit here, you can still smile, and you can talk about God was good during the 13 years,
Yes.
and God is even greater on the other side.
Definitely.
That is when you have a
Definitely.
story to tell about true love.
Testimony.
That's when you have, you know, because everybody wants the romantic, loving, true love story.
Right.
And so, as I close out, I want you all to remember October the 15th. They're going to send it to me. I'm going to post it here on Facebook, and it'll be circulating. Join them at Dream Builders Professional Coaching on Facebook to see what they're doing, what they're into, because you want to get the resources to create a strong relationship.
Definitely.
If you all want to see me live this week, I will be actually at the Community Coffee Bean Shop in Douglasville. Yeah.
There last week.
Yeah, so on
Really?
first Wednesday, I actually do a Fuel Your Relationship. This will be the last summer series of Fueling Your Relationship. So
Okay.
live, you know, I love hugs. So if y'all just want to come by, get a hug, y'all relationship don't need no fuel. Y'all already moving on. But just this, so we can reach out and touch each other. Even if you need me to just pray for you, I'll see you there. But we're going to hear Hiding Place and Second Chance, and we're going to stay a little bit longer if you all have Facebook questions.
Good.
I was like, you just made me